Y'all already know what time it is. We back with another edition of the Leo G Show. I am Leo G, and podcasting is what we like to do. It's been a minute, so we back on, but we got a lot to talk about tonight because one of these things, one of these prequels that let us know, man, we get closer and closer to another NFL football season. And so tonight's subject is going to be all about the draft. I'm joined by my man Banks out there to the south. What's going on, Banks? You got to take yourself off mute, man.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, what's going on, Leo? What's going on? How you feeling?
Man, I'm feeling good, man. Feeling great, man. NFL draft just passed this weekend, man. We got a lot to talk about and a lot to we're going to see where this takes us. Hopefully we can condense this in. If not, once again, we'll have to roll this over into the next show. So it's been a minute since we've done this. Obviously, if you're a fan of the Leo G Show, you can see that we're missing one of our members. So our boy Derek Cole, man, he was unable to. Well, you never know with Derek jump in. You just never know. So, but right now he's MIA. He has some other obligations. So, shout out to my man Derek Cole. Me and Derek Cole got into this weekend as well. So we'll do a fit check, drink check. Banks, you went all out for the draft special, man. Tell everybody what you got on.
Ain't nothing special, Leo, man. All I'm doing was throwback Falcons with the throwback logo, and I'm rocking the prime time inaugural jersey when he was in red and silver breeches.
Red and silver breeches, yes sir. Yes, sir. Hey, man, it's always special when it comes to them birds, man. You see it, that old school bird, man, the original bird. As you can tell, man, I've been running today, Banks. You already know we talked about this, had a lot of stuff going on. I just threw on my, one of my on the field, shirts that I got that's probably too tight. Need to up my game a little bit. We talked about the last show. They had some good stuff that just came out this year in the store, man, shop. So before the season starts, I might take a look over there. And also, Banks, today I'm rocking, as you can see it, man. Remember the last show to Augusta, went to the Masters, man. So I got some Masters apparel. Good look. I got a bunch of Masters apparel. Probably gonna be hurting off of that for a while. But look, man, when you go to Augusta, when you get an opportunity to go to Augusta, man, it's one of the greatest places in all of sports. I mean, even if you're not a golf fan, man, to be able to have a chance to go to Augusta now, it is nothing short of amazing. Amen corner, just to be able to see the gallery. Probably walked about 10 or 15 miles. Just taking, even though it was a practice round only, got a chance to see Tiger, got a chance to see Rory. Freddie Couples was in the group. It was amazing. And Banks, I did bring you what you asked for back. So, man, you'll get it the next time we get up.
Sounds good. Sounds good, brother. I'm looking forward to that.
Absolutely, man. And also, before we get any further into the show, somebody just had a birthday to pass. Man, so that boy Banks, I'm not gonna tell everybody how old you are, man, but you were definitely around. You're definitely born in the late 1900s. I could tell everybody that. So, celebrated another trip around the sun, man. How did you enjoy your birthday, man?
I enjoyed it, brother. Thank God I lived to see it, and hope I see many more. Don't feel any different. Don't feel any older. I'm just still 21 years old in my eyes, brother. I don't know what you're talking about.
Hey, man, like I said, it is what it is. So without first, so I'm not even drinking on nothing really today, man. We had, so I'll tell everybody in just a minute what's going on. I'm on this liquid death over here, man. Sparkling water, man. I'm trying to get my mind right, trying to get my life right. This past weekend, Derek Cole and we went up to Nashville to see our Atlanta United take on Nashville SC. Fun trip. Banks, as you always know, man, going on away trips always fun. Didn't get the result that we actually wanted, but fun nonetheless. You know what I'm saying? We went up there, and we always get to it. You know what I'm saying? Us Atlanta fans, we're going to have a good time anywhere we go, and we're going to bring the noise. We're going to rep the A. We're going to defend the A, and that's what we're about, man. So Banks, I had to kind of slow it down today because I got a lot of stuff going on this week, and I got to get my mind right. So that's why I'm on this liquid death. What you got going on over there?
Well, just doing something real simple. I'm doing Tito's and ginger ale.
All right.
So ain't nothing really big about it. I guess because that's a sign of me getting older. Maybe I'm just trying to keep it simple, ain't doing nothing all that extravagant stuff. Just, give me one vodka and one mixer and I'm good to go.
You're good to go. I hear that. That's what's up, man. Also heard you got a chance to take you in the Janet Jackson concert, man. How was that?
Oh, that was my future wife. She did pretty good. I get a chance to see Janet Jackson, I'm going to be there. She did pretty good. Everyone kept saying, well, she didn't dance, she didn't move. Well, she's a mother and she's in her 50s. So for what she did, it was enough.
Hey, man, she could have just song as far as I'm
And
concerned, man. Like you said,
that's
it's
what
Janet.
she sat on the step and sung a lot of songs and people was intrigued.
And she was definitely, man. Had a busy weekend here in Atlanta as I went up to Nashville. Traffic was out of control. We also had so Banks, before we get off of so I want to talk about a few things before we get into talking about the draft. The city was crazy this weekend. Janet Jackson, like I said, was here. Ended up bumping her date because they ended up forcing the game 6 with the Celtics. That was a little crazy. I know your plans kind of got moved. Obviously, to still be able to attend the concert. Then we also had Taylor Swift in town. Wow, Taylor Swift. I'm kind of embarrassed, Banks, to tell you that somebody was talking to me about Taylor Swift, and I couldn't name that one Taylor Swift song. But heard it was a great show.
I can name
I'm just
two.
not there, but okay. Well, hey, we'll go on Shazam, and maybe if the Taylor Swift category come up, then you will give them the 2. I know we could both rattle off of Taylor Swift. You got the 2, and I got 0. I was speaking with somebody, and I thought I knew a Taylor Swift song, and then I was corrected and was told that it was Katy Perry. So I am completely oblivious to any Taylor Swift songs, but both of them were in town. Taylor Swift was over at Mercedes-Benz, and Janet was over at State Farm Arena. So it was a crazy weekend, Frank. All right, man. Moving into another thing I want to talk about before we get into this, and it's kind of relevant to what I'm about to talk about before we actually get into the draft. So, Banks, I don't know if you heard, but this was a funny thing that was going on Twitter today, and I watched it. Remember, we don't have an NHL team here in Atlanta. Don't really talk about or see a bunch of the NHL. But apparently something crazy happened last night, Banks, and people are losing their lids about it. The Bruins had the best regular season record in all of the NHL. I want to think like something like in the history of the NHL. Put out of the playoffs by the Florida Panthers last night. And guess what, Banks? The people in Boston are. What you know about that? People in Boston in their feelings about a team getting bounced out of the playoffs, and they want to have stay at home day. They want to shut the city of Boston down. Y'all want some sympathy? Y'all don't get no sympathy for me. Go.
Let me clean it up for you. It wasn't the fact that they lost to Florida Panthers, the fact that they were up 3-1, and Florida walked them down and won in overtime. So it stung even more, and on Boston's home ice. So yeah, it's a lot of things that happened in that game where they felt like the series was over after they were up 3-1, and Florida said not so fast, and they're cleaning out their lockers. So I mean, they're saying now, talking heads in the sports world saying it's one of the worst chokes in NHL history. So hate it for you.
Yeah. For them, I have no sympathy. It is what it is. Hey, they want to talk about how bad it is. Hey, man, look, we're Atlanta fans, right? Hey, I mean, we have persevered. So maybe a little humbleness will carry you a long way, Boston. I mean, I know y'all, doing what you up there, but hey, you know what? Florida said not this time. So it is what it is. So speaking of which, let's go into the draft. Let's get into it. Let's talk about it because that's what we're here for. Banks, going into it, also something that was very, very intriguing about the draft is we talk about this. We had a fan that actually announced the pick. Craziest things ever was the number 7 pick, and we'll get into that here in just a minute. He announced, and he was heckled. I'm not even gonna say he was heckled with or how he was heckled. You probably already figured it out if you've been on social media or you just know what people like to heckle us about. But his comeback was strong. And I feel like everybody in Atlanta owes that man a beer. If you see that man, I think he goes by the Falcon. I'm saying he was up there right off the pick. Banks, I don't know how you felt about that, but I think every Falcons fan can agree and had the same as him that he had after he was hit with the heckle. It was funny to me, man. I was like, dude, that is pure comedy and kind of, I think that maybe just push the door of, hey, look, we know whatever. All right, it ain't a joke to us no more.
I think what after they kind of dissected it, they actually had some kind of not a special, but a segment on it on different radio talk shows saying that what he did was kind of take the teeth out of the joke. For me, it's like we're so desensitized to this. It's like it really don't hurt anymore. Like you can say, 28-3, who cares? I mean, it happened. So what? So what's next? You got anything else? Because that's just if that's all you got. I mean, that's pathetic.
That's all they got. That's what's funny. And the funny part about it is, it's only one team that could really hold it over our head, but everybody else want to bring it up. And it's like, okay, y'all didn't do it. So, it is what it is. I guess everybody wanted to bathe in our tears or whatever the case may be. But we don't really care. It is what it is. We move forward.
I think what it did was it really showed that a lot of Falcon fans are just unbothered by it. It doesn't hit the same no more. The way he came out there and said it and then walk off like a boss, that was perfect. Like he couldn't did it any better than that. And I want to thank the hecklers who tried it. They tried it. And he thought that, he was going to tuck his tail in and walk back. And I'm glad he said what he said. He said it so, it was just so whatever, dude. Yeah, 28-3. Yeah, we heard that before.
And we not new to this, man. We
right.
And we not going nowhere. Like we just going to say, oh, you know what? Y'all got us, man. We going to let us retire our fight. No, we here. We not going nowhere. We still, I hate, to use the term, we true to this, not new to this, man. We were here before 28-3. We're going to be here long after moving forward. And hopefully, eventually, one of these days, we're going to have that parade down Peachtree and all will be absolved. But fun times, man, going into the draft. So let's talk about it. Let's get into it, man. Things to discuss, a lot of stuff to digest because I know that, and I have a lot of stuff that I want to get off my chest too, Banks, about this draft. Some of our fans are in their feelings for whatever reason, for whatever the case may be. So we're going to talk about the Atlanta Falcons and their draft pick. We can kind of start talking about other things and other players and other teams. But the first pick in the NFL, the first pick for the Atlanta Falcons at number 8, we'll talk about that one first. So a lot of controversy with that pick, Banks. So keeping on the rock, if you're just getting back in town, if you were over in Djibouti, Africa, and they have access to the internet, man, the Atlanta Falcons took a running back by the name of Bijan Robinson. Arguably, some people had him as the best player available. A can't miss pick. But the interesting part about this pick is that he was a luxury item. We talk about this all the time. Drafts, are you drafting for need or are you drafting for best player available? Obviously, the Falcons have shown us here over the past 3 drafts that part of their strategy is going after the best player available. A lot of controversy with this pick because there was somebody else that was still available. But Banks, before I hand it over to you, I just want to speak my piece about this Bijan Robinson pick and how I felt when it initially came across. I was not surprised. We had talked about this and we saw just the makeup of our team and who our head coach is, that this could be a strong possibility for our team. So I was not surprised in the least bit, and I wasn't really disappointed in getting him. Now, yes, given the there was a lot to think about a lot the process. But overall, I think initially when it happened, I said, okay, he's a great pick. From all that I've seen. Looks like this guy could possibly be, if everything shakes out, offensive player of the year. Banks, I'm gonna go. The Bijan Robinson pick was in. What are your initial thoughts, and how do you feel about this pick?
I'm just gonna keep it a buck with you, Leo. I was disappointed. Um, I felt that a lot of Falcon fans felt we had 1,000 yards rusher already, and Tyler Algiers, and I felt like there was no need for another running back at that spot. At that spot, number 8. Um, I really thought we was going after the defensive lineman. It was kind of disappointing at the moment. But when I started to sit back and look at it, and I saw, okay, what kind of guy Bijan Robinson is, I said, okay, that's an Arthur Smith pick. Okay, let's make that clear. That was Arthur Smith all the way. That's his kind of guy, and he got his bell cow, and I started to realize, oh, so now I see what the plan is about this team. This team is going to be run, and run some more, and I'm kind of okay with that. But you got to get that line of scrimmage in some order first. But like I said, at the initial, real time when it happened, I was down in the dumps. And I got over it real quick. But I mean, let me touch on something right fast when you said that the best player available. I had a question about that. In Kyle Pitts, absolutely. I had to really pause when you look at Drake London, because he was definitely not the best player available. But is it best player available throughout, or is it best player available on the Falcons list?
Well, see, that's the thing, Banks. See, that's the thing. I think that caught up in all of this, but we got to remember, this is all subjective, right? We all have different opinions. We all have different tastes, right? You like Hennessy, I might like Cavassier. So everything is subjective. Like, I think with the Falcons, their draft board is unique to them. So when we say best player available, I don't necessarily think that collectively everybody in the league is like, okay, this available. Each team is going to have their own draft board. They're going to have their own idea and their own direction as to where they want to go. Each team has their own identity. So I think when you talk about best player available, and when I speak about best player available with the Falcons, it's subjective to how they feel in their philosophy. Like you just hit on, Banks, the fact that we know this is an Arthur Smith guy. This running back, purely, I mean, there could not be another pick in this draft that doesn't have Arthur Smith all over. I'm pretty sure that when they saw this guy still there, that they were like, you know what, this is us. This is where we're gonna go. And so I feel like that's how it is. A lot of people, start to argue semantics and this, and I don't think this guy's the best player, but to each his own, right? That's what we always say, to each his own. Everybody has their own thing and what they want to do and what they want to go after. So just gonna move down the list, and we'll come back and we'll talk about some other things that happened right there at number 8. So the next pick, it took us to get to the second round to get our next pick. It was the 7th pick overall in the second round. That's a price that we moved up to take a offensive lineman. I say offensive lineman because this guy played offensive tackle in college, but he's going to probably play inside guard for us. Matthew Bergeron. Pretty big guy, pretty big fellow. The Falcons were high on him. Before I give this over to you, Banks, just to give you a little insight that came as of recent that we didn't know at on draft night. Falcons moved up to take this guy, and it looks like they did a solid, because there were a couple of teams, I think, that were ready to take this kid in the first round. The Cowboys were ready to take this kid in the first round and had a big meeting in their war room about who to take, either him or the kid from Michigan. Obviously, the kid from Michigan won out. I think it's safe to say, Banks, that the Cowboys don't really miss on offensive linemen. So if the Cowboys was on this kid's track, I think that it was something there, and the Falcons jumped. Apparently, he's a great run blocker and should fit very, very well in our offensive line. Banks, give me your take on the Matt Bergeron pick. I know we probably didn't see a lot of him in college. I know we did take a few looks at his highlights, but how did you feel about the Falcons coming up to get that guy there at the 38th overall pick?
Well, let me say this. I did my research on Bergman. It's one of my top favorite picks. I have two favorite picks in the whole draft, and he's one of them. For what I saw on the highlights films that it displayed, that he's very efficient in run protection in the RPO. I noticed when he was in with Syracuse, the quarterback would like scramble or run or move, and he will move with the pocket, and he will move as quickly as the play. If I'm saying that correctly, I know if you move with the play, it's like you're not letting the game pass you by. Something to that nature that I heard. But I was impressed. He was pancaking a lot of guys on the film that I saw. And if we're going to have a guard that's going to be able to be elusive with his feet in the RPO, I think that bodes well with Desmond. And I don't have to worry about him like having somebody go through him to get to his lap. So that's one of my favorite picks of the draft.
Absolutely. Solid pick, in my opinion. I mean, kid looked very, very tough. Like you said, to echo what you said, the RPO and also the zone blocking scheme is very, very key to what we do here. And you got to have some road graders, man. You got to have guys to get after it. We were very successful rushing the football last year. I think number 3 in the league. So, hey, they want to continue with that success. I mean, running the football. A lot of people think that, hey, the game is now about throwing the rock all over the field. But let me tell you something, man. This game is still going to be built on, moving the rock between the tackles, running the football. It's only so much passing you could do before they say, okay, hey, you know what? We're going to drop everybody back. We're going to do what we need to do. So, hey, sometimes you got to be old school, smash mouth, run this rock, get chunk yards. And I think with him moving to that left guard spot, if I'm not mistaken, that's where he'll be. It'll make us that more potent running the football this year. Like I said, number 3 in rushing with the addition of Bijan Robinson and also is Cordero Patterson. And I think they end up keeping Caleb Huntley, if I'm not mistaken, because Cordero Patterson is kind of a wild card and he doesn't really line up on your team as a running back. You can, easily, I mean, I call him the Swiss Army knife, but you'll probably end up carrying 3 running backs. Cordero Patterson is that runner who can line up everywhere on the field. So, hey, man, I like that pick too and where it's going with Bergeron. Moving on to the next, we went with a defensive end, if I'm not mistaken, out of I'm get it right for the 10 fans up here, the little 10 fan. Round 3, the 75th pick overall, Zach Harrison, defensive end out of Ohio State. So what I saw this guy, big, long, athletic guy. He was a highly recruited talent out of high school. I think he was a 5-star recruit. Had a lot of top tier teams that recruited him. He is still raw, very raw. I think he's about 6'6", 275 pounds. In a scheme where they could probably work him inside, long arms, very athletic, with some room to improve. Saw him firsthand and up close against Georgia in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. I think he had like a tackle for a loss where he snuck back there and got someone on the end around, if I'm not mistaken. I saw his highlights as well. Like I said, impressed with what I saw initially. He's going to be raw, but he gives the Falcons some versatility and some more depth on the defensive line because needed depth on the defensive line. So very impressed with that pick as well. And he can come in. He doesn't have to really contribute Banks with the free agents that we went out and got. I think he can learn from a core group of guys that we already have there, and he can contribute in his own way as they see fit, wherever they can kind of move. Because of his size, it makes him available to put him across the board on that defensive line.
I kind of took my sentiments away from me. I know they were saying something about in his combine he had one of the longest arms in the whole entire group. And for what I don't want to butcher this stat, but it was supposedly the longest arms in 10 years or something of that nature. But for what I've seen of him, it didn't jump off the page at me. I didn't really know who he was, but I'm not going to say he's not going to produce as a player. All I know is I need to do more research on him. Only thing I can really tell you is that he went to Ohio State. That's about it. I need to watch a little bit more of him. It kind of blew by me on the third round because I was so, kind of on the mindset of, the day prior about getting the running back in the first round. So but, but like I said, as the off season progressed, I will get to know this guy very, very well. Let me go ahead and see. I want to call this young Zach Harrison. I will know who he
Yeah,
is. Trust and believe.
absolutely, man. Glad he's on board. Welcome to the A. All right, moving right along. Round 4 here, where we get the number 113th overall pick in the draft. And by outside of the Matthew Bergeron pick, I actually saw this guy, and I actually felt like this would be I've seen very, very well. Even though I didn't watch too much Pac-12 football, there were a lot of people very, very high on this pick, and that's Clark Phillips, the cornerback out of Utah. Uh, can you not hear me? So I'm having some technical difficulties now. Banks said. I don't know here if Banks still hears me or not. I'm need to go on here. Hopefully we'll get back here in just a second. He said he kind of lost me there. Looks like I still have audio. Looks like I still have everything going. So we'll keep moving here as we go. But yeah, just talking about we're talking about Clark Phillips, round 4, the 113th pick overall. Up out of Utah. I think the steal of the draft, in my opinion. I'm going to type here in the comment box so Banks maybe talk here a little bit about Clark Phillips. Banks, can you hear me now? Or are you still having difficulties? All right, no worries. Difficulties. Might have Banks go back out and try to come back in. So yeah, we're gonna try to see if we can get Banks to go out and then come back in and resolve our audio issues. But let's see if that works here in just a second. Now, Banks, am I coming through? All right, no worries. Moving. We'll keep on talking. Like I said, I think the steal of the draft for the Atlanta Falcons, for us anyway, Clark Phillips got very, very high. Out of Utah, cornerback, man. This guy played up against some top talent competition. Ball hawk and will come up and hit you. Small in stature, but I think that he proved himself well. Ended up playing against Drake London when he was out at USC. Played against one of the other top tier receivers at UCLA. I mean, I saw the highlights of this kid, man, and I heard about all of the cornerbacks that they were talking about outside of Christian Gonzalez and I think Witherspoon, but this was a guy that they talked quite a bit about as being, in the top 5 as far as DBs are concerned. Let me see if Banks is back with me with the audio. Any luck with back with the audio? You got me now, Banks? Okay, so we're just talking about Clark Phillips and in my opinion, was one of the biggest steals in the draft for the Falcons. I think it looks like we lost audio again. Can you hear me? You're muted right now, so you're muted, Banks. You're on mute. Okay. Okay. So it looks like I said, we're having some issues here with the podcast this evening. We might have to just come back and revisit this at a later date, or I'm gonna see if I can get Banks to come out and see if he can recycle and come back into the studio. See if that'll work.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can, but I have an echo now. All right, so we're gonna get Banks to see if he can come back in and and get with us here in just a minute. But like I said, man, Falcons got a solid one with that DB with Mr. Clark Phillips. This happens. We live, but it happens. Technical difficulties happen. We're gonna keep it moving. See if we can get my man Banks back. We'll, as we talk more, we got a couple of more picks to talk about, a few more things to talk about on the agenda for today. And then we're gonna be wrapping it up anyway, man. Also, so the next pick after Clark Phillips, we went back to DB, round 7. DeMarco Helms from Alabama, 7th round pick. Looks like anytime you take a player from Alabama, 7th round, 1st round, 6th round, you're gonna get some production out of them. A lot of times, it's a crapshoot. I think in the 7th round, a lot of people will say that, but for the most part, I think with an Alabama player, you're gonna get some production out of them. So that's another guy to look at. And if Banks comes back in, we'll get his thoughts and takes on him. And the last pick that we took, round 7, with the 225th pick, right behind DeMarco Helms, is Jovan Gwynn out of South Carolina, offensive lineman guard. Say he's a stocky guy, not the biggest guy in stature for the position, but hey, he's gonna come in and he's going to compete as well for a starting job at the offensive line. I always say, man, never can have too many offensive or defensive linemen, right? I mean, if you get depth, quality depth, if you can find that, man, later rounds in the draft, man, you're good to go. So that rounds out the draft picks for the Atlanta Falcons this year. So a lot of people would say that, the Falcons, depending on who you are, didn't address some of the needs, I guess, that they wanted to look at. D-line, cornerback, and wide receiver were the 3 things that it looked like we needed to hit on. I mean, obviously, we did get some D-line help, like I said, with Zach Harrison there out of Ohio State, and got a lot of offensive line help. Obviously, didn't get a wide receiver, but I think with the Bijan Robinson pick, gives you a lot of versatility because Bijan can do a lot. They talked about that as well, and we looked at that as well, him lining up in the slot and him being able to do a bunch of things offensively and give you another weapon. Banks is back up with me. Can you hear me now, Banks? Are you good to go?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can. I got you loud and clear now. So through the technical difficulties, that took a little time, but hey, we roll with it on the Leo G Show. That's what we do. So I'm gonna bring you back in. Obviously, I talked about a little bit about all of the draft picks that were remaining while you were gone. Talked about Clark Phillips. Talked about how he was the steal of the draft, in my opinion, for the Falcons. With a lot of value at that pick, man, with number 4. A lot of guys had him going like as early as the late 2nd round or 3rd round. He drops to 4. We pick him up. AJ Terrell obviously is that guy on our team. We picked up a former 1st round draft pick in Okudah from the Lions. Now you bring this kid in who they say is ferocious. There's highlights of him against our 1st round pick last year, Drake London. Also, I want to say Addison, who played wide receiver, who went very, very high in the 1st round against UCLA. He is a pit bull of a pick when it comes to DBs. He will get after it. He's a ball hawk. I think everything you want in a DB, just on the smaller side with stature. But, hey, I take ballers. Sometimes physical, attributes, height and weight don't always tell you about the size of the fight in the dog, right? I mean, this kid, I think, is solid and a good pick where we picked him up at. How do you feel about that pick, Banks?
Well, going back to Clark Phillips, I could have sworn they said he had a first round grade, late first round grade. He was drafted in the fourth. Was probably the biggest steal of the whole draft for the Atlanta Falcons. Um, I looked at some highlights of this kid, man, and I was impressed. I was thoroughly impressed. That's my second favorite guy in this draft that I'm a fan of. Well, my favorite, I should say. I looked at him and Mr. Bergeron as I was very excited about. As for the rest of, I don't know who else you talked about. It was the center. I forget his name.
Yeah, so we got the last two picks after Clark Phillips were DeMarco Helms from Alabama, the safety that we picked up in the 7th round, and then Jovan Gwynn, the offensive guard that we picked up in the 7th round. And I was just talking about the value in DeMarco Helms. He's an Alabama guy. I don't care if you get an Alabama guy in the 1st round or the 7th round. You usually get some production out of those guys. I don't think it's one of those picks where we're just gonna see if he can make the team. But obviously, yeah, he'll come in and special teams will be his bread and butter. But I think when you get a guy from a team from a school like Alabama, you're looking for some value there. Him at safety, and then Jovan Gwynn, a stockier, run blocking, interchangeable guard. They say he could possibly play center as well. With him, with the last pick at 225 in the 7th round out of South Carolina. So those are the last two guys wrapping it up.
Well, that was pretty much what I remember. The safety and the center, I believe.
Guard slash center.
I didn't really know anything about the two, but like you said about the safety from Alabama, he's got to have some kind of game on him if he was, with Nick Saban, you know what I'm saying? So he could be probably one of the players he could be coached up and, maybe do something, contribute on that line with Richie Grant, perhaps. But time will tell. I mean, I'm really excited for this draft class coming into this 2023 season.
Absolutely. So overall, man, let's just get into it. Talking about the draft picks that we did pick up, I'm gonna go ahead and give my draft grade. And I'm gonna be fair. I think I'm gonna be very, very fair with this draft grade, and I'm gonna get a Falcons a solid B. I get a Falcons a solid B with this draft. I think it could have been a tad bit better, but the quality and the value of players that we got, I give them a solid B. Like I said, you got a premier back in Bijan Robinson, solid offensive lineman, and a steal, I think, in the 4th pick at cornerback. The other guys, like you said, for the value and just to see how they're going to be, like we talked about with DeMarco Helms being from Alabama, should give us some production. Say overall a solid B with this draft, man. A solid B at that. Banks, where do you mark the Falcons at with this draft in your?
I was kind of hovering between a B- and a C+, only because I still didn't see where we didn't address another receiver like I thought we were. I thought that was probably somewhere in the later rounds we'll get a receiver. I'm still stuck on the Bijan pick over pass rush. I know, a lot of people are saying, we did pretty much a lot of damage to that defensive line with the free agency, rightfully so, but you have a lot of guys on that line who are on a 1-year deal. So I felt like you need to bring somebody in with younger, going forward, you can groom and probably take over as one of those positions, and you didn't do that. So I'm still, like I said, I don't hate it. I absolutely don't hate it. I just was questioning about a lot of the picks where I thought we were going to address, and we didn't do it.
All right. And it is what it is at this point, man. We'll address an elephant in the room here in just a second when it comes to the subject that you just discussed. Just want some notable picks in the 1st round. I want to give a shout out to Will Anderson Jr. From the state of Georgia, man. Played for the University of Alabama. He went number 3 overall out there to the Houston Texans. Big shout out to him. And we'll talk about now here the University of Georgia here, and the picks and what they were able to do and what they were able to accomplish. Before I get into that, Banks, let's just talk about the elephant in the room for a minute, and I want to address a lot of different things. So this is going to be kind of multi-layered when I discuss this and we talk about this. So going into this draft, the Georgia Bulldogs are coming off of 2 back-to-back national championships, and there's a lot of talent at the University of Georgia. And the sentiment in this state and the sentiment here is that the Falcons have not done a good job at picking talent from the University of Georgia. And that's, for whatever reason. I don't know why, because I'm not a scout for the Falcons. I'm not in their front office. I don't talk to anybody in the organization outside of my ticket rep. Shout out to my ticket rep when it's time to pay for my tickets. So I don't know, and I can't answer the question as to why they don't go after Georgia players, or if that's even a thing. I'm not for sure. When the Falcons picked at 8, Jalen Carter, obviously, here in the state of Georgia, everybody that follows UGA and is a UGA fan probably stopped what they were doing and was like, okay, Falcons, this is our pick right here. Don't mess this up. And pick Jalen Carter, a defensive tackle, like you said, to give you some more help on the defensive line. Now, Banks, before I give this over to you, I just want to say this much. And we'll talk a little bit more about this before we close the show out, but I want to tell some people that say they're Falcons fans, y'all need to grow up a little bit. I mean, I get it. You're disappointed because I am too. I would have loved to get some of this Georgia talent on this team. But at the same time, grow up. I mean, you can't, we didn't get Jalen Carter for whatever reason. I have no control over it. You have no control over it. And some people had full-on tantrums on social media because of this and decided that they want to once again denounce their fandom because the Falcons don't know what they're doing. They can't get it right. Why don't we get Georgia players? If they want fans, they'll get Georgia players because obviously, yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, Banks, if we get all the Georgia players here in Atlanta for the Falcons, everybody on Saturday is going to come right down here from Athens on Sunday to fill up the Mercedes-Benz 70, 80,000 strong because we drafted 6, 7, 8 guys from University of Georgia. Because I heard all of that on social media this weekend as well, is that if you want fans, you'll take Georgia players. And I'm like, I'm the first person to sit up here and tell you, and Banks, you know this as well, we got a lot of people in this state that don't even give a damn about professional football, let alone the Falcons. They're Georgia fans and Georgia fans only because we know college football here in the South, it's huge. It's bigger than NFL football. So, yes, I get the frustration. I understand. I'm disappointed as well, people. But these tantrums and fits that y'all are having on social media, if you're a so-called Falcons fan, they need to stop. You grown, you can do whatever you want to do, but it's just funny to me, man, how stuff don't go your way and you feel like, that's it. I'm done because they didn't get a Georgia player. How crazy are they? That was our ticket to the Super Bowl by getting these Georgia players. Maybe so, maybe not. I don't know. This thing ain't played out yet. Banks, handing over to you here. I know that was a lot for you to digest and understand. Jalen Carter picked there at 8. We end up picking Bijan Robinson. Your thoughts, and then also your thoughts on what I just, and some of these fans having tantrums and fits about what occurred during the draft in the Atlanta Falcons.
Well, let me tackle that right fast because I'm gonna share with you what I saw on Twitter. Couple of UGA fans that are on the waiting list for the Philadelphia Eagles season tickets. So when I saw that, I was like, wow. So you don't care about NFL, but you're care enough that you got some of the UGA players to be an Eagles fan. Okay. I mean, you do what you want to do. I feel that a lot of the Georgia fans that don't care about NFL. Well, let me back up. You have a team in 2021 Bulldogs and 2022 Bulldogs was a phenomenal defense, and I think you will agree. Those players that came into the NFL were very memorable, very, very likable. I mean, every from the top to the bottom. And you see now what a good chunk of them went to one team. So now it's to the point where it's like now I can really rally behind this team and pull for these Bulldogs, and that's what a lot of these Bulldog fans who like college football only are now claiming the green and white. So I don't know what they would have done if they would have been with the Falcons. I don't know. I can't say for certain they'll be Falcon fans. I don't know. But I see why a lot of the Falcon fans are upset. It's been a stat where I didn't even know this. It's been 57 years, Leo, since Falcons chose a Bulldog in the first round. 57 years. I don't know what they have against Georgia. I have no idea. But I know is they don't draft Georgia Bulldogs, period.
Let me ask you this, though. and I just want your opinion on this. Do you think this is on purpose? Do you think they are purposely saying we're not going to draft Georgia players?
I can't say this on purpose, but they don't scout them. I mean, they are literally in your backyard. I mean, come on now. I mean, you can't sit there. It's been 57 years. I mean, it's just not out of pure coincidence that, out of all schools you drafted from, you just don't go to Georgia. I mean, I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, it's basically record-setting defense in the country, okay? And what you need the most is defense, and you don't even look their way. So I don't know if they're by design. I have no idea. But all I know is purpose. Other teams, they do their due diligence, and they come to Georgia or whoever, and they pick who they want to pick. I know New York Giants pick a lot of Bulldogs. The Patriots pick a lot of Bulldogs. Now the Eagles, the Steelers. So I mean, I don't know, Leo. All I know is Falcons don't do it. So, I'm just gonna leave it at that.
I mean, they picked up a Bulldog last year. Like you said, obviously it wasn't in the first round. But I will say this much, and I hate to be stat boy here, and I hate to bust everybody. Oh God, yes. So I want to bring up something, and I want to make myself very, very clear. I love the Georgia Bulldog Banks. I love the Bulldogs. I was in Athens when they marched down for the second championship into Sanford Stadium. I'm a Bulldogs fan. But, a lot of times people talk about things, and I'm a kind of a fact person. You know what I'm saying? I need something to kind of back up all of the things that you're talking. So I did some research on my own, and I went out to figure out, okay, hey, what's going on? Because a lot of people just spew this stuff out of their mouths about, the teams in the NFL, all of the Bulldogs are successful, all of this, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. I'm like, okay, great. I'm a UGA fan. I'm a fan of these guys that played at UGA, and I still follow them when I'm in the league. But the facts are the facts. So I'm going to bring this up to you, Banks, and I don't know if you knew this or not, but from 2019 to 2022, right, 38 UGA players have been drafted. A total of 38 UGA players have been drafted from 2019 to 2022. All right? Now, did you know this, Banks? There have only been one Pro Bowl appearance by one of those players drafted between 2019 and 2022, and one second team All-Pro player between 2019 and 2022, and neither one of them played defense. So all these people talking about, oh man, yeah, to get the Bulldogs players, they're gonna do this, they're gonna do this, that. I get it, they're great players, but outside the Philadelphia Eagles went to the Super Bowl last year. Nakobe Dean and Jordan Davis was there. Nakobe Dean is still in development. Okay. Jordan Davis was a contributor, but they had a hell of a rotation on that Philadelphia Eagles front seven, right? So my point is this. It's still yet to be determined. I hope that these guys are successful. My thing is I want these guys to be successful in the league, but you just don't know. Because being good in college, Banks, we all know, doesn't equate to being great in the NFL. And just because you played at UGA doesn't mean you're entitled to be great in the NFL. We've seen some great players come from smaller schools and do very, very well. But the notion that, hey, if you draft, yes, I would like to see this is not me saying I don't want the Falcons to get Georgia players, or it doesn't matter. But I want them to get players out of Georgia. I do. I really do. But the whole notion of if you draft all these guys, from Georgia, that is the ticket and the key to success. I would think that's, in my opinion, not true. I don't know. Time will tell. We'll see what the Eagles do this year with, half of the damn 2021, 2022 Georgia defense up there.
Well, let me chime in onto that stat. Yes, I did hear about that stat, and I think the stat is flawed. First of all, you said 2019 to 2022. Okay, you only saying for 1 to 4 years of you can't even judge a class in the 2022 Jordan Davis and the Kobe Dean. That's not even fair to them. They haven't even stepped foot on the field to get judged. So you could throw that out the window. I think what a lot of people are saying is that the fact that the 2021-2022 Bulldogs was a historic defense, and yes, they didn't have any Bulldogs in the 2019. Yeah, I get that. But this new regime, this new group of Bulldogs, mainly the ones in the Philadelphia Eagles, the story is still written for them. Okay, they just came on the scene. We're gonna visit this in the next 2 to 3 years and see where they are with the Eagles. If that defense is humming and going along, we can have a real conversation about this. We're gonna look back at 2023 and say, you know what? Yeah, we missed it. So I think
I don't necessarily
a lot of
go
people.
ahead.
Well, I think you can say that, because my thing is you a lot of folks are banking on Georgia Bulldogs not being productive or being effective or being relevant, whatever you want to call it, in the NFL. Okay, yeah, you can say that, and the stats prove it. But you can't just start saying 2019 to 2022 is not fair. It's certainly
but
not
here's
fair.
the thing, though. So for Falcons fans, this is what I want you to explain to me, Banks. So for Falcons fans, where does this go? Okay, yeah, we didn't get them, but at the end of the day, is it a thing where a lot of people want to say they just want to put their finger in your face, say, I told you so. You didn't take those Bulldogs. You didn't. The ship is sailed. It's over and done with now. So is this your glory? Your glory is going to be to say, I told you so. You dumbasses in Flowery Branch was wrong. We want our Georgia players. Is that what the glory in all this is?
And you know what it is, Leo. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. I think we talked before, like, it's going to be very unfair to have a Jalen Carter versus Bijan Robinson and see who's going to do what in their whole career. That's not fair to both of them. Bijan Robinson is a great player. At least I think he is. What he did in Texas was phenomenal. You know what I'm saying? And you're going to sit there and judge their two careers side by side. I mean, that's not, I don't agree with it, but it's going to happen. You already know it's going to happen. If Jalen Carter goes to 3 straight Pro Bowls and Bijan Robinson doesn't, heaven forbids, they're going to be like, I told you so. You know it. We took this bomb and we should have had this one over here,
But on the other foot, what if Bijan Robinson ends up rushing for 2,000 yards and he goes to 3 Pro Bowls, but Jalen Carter in his own right does well too?
You won't hear a sound from him. You won't hear a sound.
See, that's my thing. I feel like everything has to fit somebody's narrative, and if it doesn't fit their narrative specifically, then it's wrong. You're waiting for failure. And as a fan of a team, how can you wait for failure? How are you waiting for your team to fail just because they didn't do what you wanted them to do? I mean, at the end of the day, we're all disappointed, right? I mean, we can't, like I said, you're not going to get it all. But I don't understand. I'm talking to you specifically, Banks, but you know who I'm talking to. I'm talking to a set of fans that are mad that they didn't get their way and they want this team to fail. But that's not what being a fan is, in my opinion. I could be wrong. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Banks, but I would never want to see my team fail. What I see, and that's what I read from these people that quote unquote call themselves fans. And like you just said, Banks, it is unfair to Bijan Robinson, who had a phenomenal career at Texas, who's worked very, very hard to get to the league, to have to stand up and face some of that pressure that are coming, quote unquote, fans of the Falcons. And go ahead.
What I was about to say was, I don't really think it's they wanting to fail. I think these fans are They're waiting for the other shoe to drop with the Falcons or any Atlanta team for that matter. I see a lot of fans that have this notion of Atlanta's going to Atlanta. That's a thing that, by the way, Atlanta is going to Atlanta. No matter how good they are, no matter what they do in the draft, they're waiting for the other shoe to fall. So, the whole concept of a player that leaves Atlanta, go to another team, he's going to get a championship somehow and he's going to rub it in our face. What if he doesn't? I mean, what if he goes somewhere and suck? And he basically who we thought he was.
Which, by the way, has happened
more
on numerous occasions. Exactly.
Numerous occasions than not. You know what I'm saying? I can't even recall a player that left any of our Atlanta teams that went on and just been phenomenal. And he just wasn't crap with us. I can't think on top of my head of a player that just basically just made us regret it. You know what I'm saying?
Isaiah Ryder.
Really? I mean, I think anyone I can come close to that maybe is Dion, maybe, but that wasn't our fault. We didn't resign him back. I don't recall another player like that would made us eat it. You know what I'm saying? You can't even say players like Freddie Freeman. I can't even. It's that because he didn't win anything in Los Angeles right now. So I don't know. I mean, I can't think of any player for that matter. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of fans have this notion, just like right now with Trae Young. Trae Young's gonna go somewhere. He's gonna win a championship, and he's gonna make sure I'm like, okay, all right.
And that's my whole thing, man. It's like, yeah, my whole thing is this: like, be thankful for what we have. I know sometimes it's disappointing. Let's have here, and appreciate them while they're here, Banks. That's all we can do as a fan. That's all I'm asking, man. We got a talented running back coming here. We got a great draft class coming here. I mean, yeah, Philly got a bunch of Georgia players. I'll for them and what they did here up at Athens and winning 2 back-to-back championships, man. But as a fan of the Falcons, man, hey, I'm behind this squad here 110%. One more thing I want to talk about before we have to close this out. I know we had some technical difficulties, but we'll definitely talk about this. Do another show here because I think we got the schedule coming out here in just a minute. That's going to be interesting. And then we'll talk some more about the players that we're going to face on the schedule. I think we'll do that in the upcoming weeks. I want to say the schedule drops on the 11th, if I'm not mistaken. But one notable other draft pick that I wanted to talk about to come out here and say, I admit I got it wrong. And that's another Georgia Bulldogs. Stetson Bennett gets drafted, I want to say, in the 4th round by the Los Angeles Rams. So I did not think that Stetson Bennett that early. I thought Stetson Bennett was going to get drafted 7th round. We were thinking undrafted free agent, but hey, Sean McVay and the Rams took a shot at him. Went some other notable quarterbacks. I think Max Duggan from TCU, he went late, got picked up by the LA Chargers. I don't know if Hendon Hooker got selected before or after Stetson Bennett, but just the notion that he was picked where he was, Banks, I think that, it kind of surprised. I don't know about you before we close this thing out.
It didn't really take me by surprise. I think a lot of people assumed that he was going to go 7th round or undrafted, but you look back his career, I mean, he played phenomenal. I mean, why not? Why not? Like, only thing you're going to hold over your head is the fact that he was a walk-on. I mean, he was invited to the Heisman ceremony, for crying out loud. Okay. I mean, he was invited, call it what you will. Maybe it was nobody else to invite or say what you want, but he was there and he had one of the greatest performance in a national championship that you can ever see. So yeah, I think he deserved it. I think he, going forward, now that he has a team, that he's going to have a good NFL career.
Yeah, man, he'll have a good 3 years, man, at 25 years old. Out there with a quarterback, Matt Stafford as well. Hey, I'm happy for Stetson, and I hope he does well. And as well, I'm happy for the draft class, 2023 draft class of the Falcons. Looking forward to this season and what we have coming up. So this comeback, we'll talk a little bit more about some of the players that were drafted when we talk schedule release, and who will see some of the newly drafted players we're going to see quite a bit of, including the number 1 pick this year. So, but we'll pick that up at a later date. Banks, as always, I appreciate you for coming on and doing the draft show, man. Tell everybody where they can find you at, man.
Well, before I do that, you said we're going to see the number 1 pick. We're going to also see the number 2 pick as well. My name is Antoine Jarrell Banks. Facebook, that's where you can find me. And also Baby Banks 80 on Twitter and the gram. And that's all that I have. I'm not on Snapchat or any other
TikTok
outlets or anything like
WhatsApp.
that. So
you're not what was that?
No, I
don't. College club.
No.
Damn, I thought okay. Check us out. You can always check us out, man, on Facebook, the Leo G Show. That's the Leo G Show on Facebook. You can also check us out. You can check me out personally on Twitter. Bruiser the Butcher, that's right. Southern Set with 2 T's on Twitter, man. I have had fun this weekend, going back and forth with Falcons fans, talking about different things, man. So shout out to all my Falcons fans out there. Shout out to the Falconator. Got to give him a shout. I got to find this dude, Banks. We got to do some research. We got to find this guy. We got to do our thing, man. Try to maybe get him on the show, but definitely buy this man a beer. Obviously want to do that.
Can I say something right fast? And I want to say it before we get off air. And I know this is going to go on some airways, so people are going to see this. If you're a Falcon fan and you don't agree with the Bijan Robinson pick, or you don't agree with having a quarterback in Desmond Ridder, my question to you is, just because, and we said it earlier, that it's not your plan doesn't mean it's going to suck. And I'm tired of hearing Falcon fans say Desmond's not that good. You have no basis. You have no reason why to say that, because we didn't get Lamar Jackson. That's the only reason why you say that. You don't know what Desmond Ridder can do. You can't say this man suck. You don't have no evidence that he can suck. You never seen this man play. You know what I'm saying? And it go back with Bijan Robinson. You know, I've heard someone say he's not that good. Based on what? Like, you're saying this because you didn't get Jalen Carter. Like, I get it. I mean, a lot
sour
of
grape. Now you sour graping.
But now you're saying he's not good because of what? I mean, and then you hear fans saying, well, we're gonna do worse than 7-9, 7-10, whatever. We're gonna be 4-12. I'm like, okay, y'all off the chain. I'm just saying this, y'all. It's because you don't get your way. That player doesn't suck, and that's exactly coming from me. Okay.
Exactly. Well said, Banks. Well spoken. Like I said, man, if you claim to be on this train, be on this train. If not, when this thing at 5 points, get off. Ride out with the rest of the Taylor Swift this weekend, man. We don't need you. And if you want to go to Philly, go to Philly. Cause I tell you what, I damn sure I don't want to go to Philly. I love it here. I'm gonna be here. Y'all can go up there to Philly and be fans with the people that boo Santa Claus and eat horse manure during the parade up there and the celebration. Yeah, that's a special type of fan base. No disrespect, but I'm fine being an ATL Falcon fan right here in Atlanta, man. Catch us also on Twitter, the Leo G Show, the #1. Try to get a little more active on that. And like I said, catch us on Facebook. Catch me on Twitter as well. This has been another edition of Leo G Show. Also, remember to catch my man Derek. You catch him somewhere out here in these streets. I'm pretty sure he's listening to the show. Like I said, he has some other obligations. But this has been another edition. Have fun. We look forward to seeing you next time.